Today on episode 2 of 5 Minute Friday, we're going over the king of all exercises, the deadlift, and the 5 things you have to keep in mind before you even think about lifting up that bar. Let's get it. Hey guys, I'm here from EverStrong Therapy, physical therapy and fitness designed to keep you moving at your best. Today we are going over the mecca, the king of the exercise, the deadlift. Now, first let's go over what a deadlift is. Essentially, a deadlift is lifting up any weight from the floor to your waist at As always, I have my personal trainer extraordinaire, Jeff Dubuisson, with me. We are going to go over some of the key components before you walk up to the bar, during your walk to the bar, and as you prepare for the lift in order to keep that move as efficient as possible. Now, the reason we love the deadlift is because it works the entire posterior chain. It's the reason we call it the king of exercises is because it works both the lower and the upper body all in one move. Your glutes, your quads, your hamstrings, your spina erecta in your lower back, your traps. The entire posterior chain is strengthened as you complete this move. It is super efficient and it really helps in your overall life. Anytime you have to pick up a laundry basket, grocery bag, maybe your kids, you are using muscles that are involved in the deadlift. So by strengthening this one move, we can apply it to almost every facet of your life. However, even though it's a simple move and even though the concept can be easy, there is a lot of risk for injury if you're not doing it right. So let's get after it and let's show you guys how I train the deadlift in order to make sure my patients stay healthy and efficient. So as we approach the bar, I actually like to work from the bottom up when I teach my clients or athletes how to deadlift correctly. The first thing we're going to do is your foot placement. And before we even get started, I'm actually going to have Jeff take off his shoes. Now the reason I have him take off his shoes is because I want zero drop between his forefoot and the heel. Remember, we said that this move is a posterior chain exercise, so anything he can do to keep the weight back on his heels is going to be beneficial. Most shoes tend to have a rise between the forefoot and the heel, and I want to eliminate that. Other options might be Vans, Chuck Taylors, or any type of minimalist shoes that keep zero drop between your forefoot and heel. But in this case, we're cheap and we're just rocking socks. Okay, Jeff, I'm going to have you approach the bar. Now, one of the main issues I find with deadlifts is people tend to reach forward when they start the deadlift. What I like to have people do is come up, keep your feet about shoulder width apart, and he's going to pretend like the bar is going right over where his laces would be. So he's going to keep the bar real close to him, and that's where your feet should go. The second thing I'm going to have Jeff do is we're going to talk about your knees. Now, one of the big issues I find is that the knees go in when people start loading the bar heavy and try to crank up. That is a disaster, and that will eventually lead to injury. So what I like to do is I tell people to envision your feet are screws and you're screwing them in to the floor while keeping them in the same position. That's going to allow your knees to point outwards, and it's going to create torque in your hip in order to then load the bar and improve your stability. So Jeff, keeping your feet where they are, I'm going to have you pretend they're little screws and you're screwing out. Good. That's number 2. Now that we've got his feet and his knees squared away, we're going to talk about his hips. He's going to hinge his hips straight back as he descends onto the bar. This is going to allow him to keep his weight on his heels and posterior so he doesn't lean forward and tax his knees when he performs the lift. He's doing a perfect job right now, and we're going to talk about the hands. Jeff likes to go over with both hands, and I actually like that as well. Reach just outside of his knees, and when I watch this, I'm actually looking directly here between his armpit and the bar. I want one plumb line as he goes down. Jeff's feet are in place, his knees are in place, his hips are in place, his hands are in place. The last thing I'm going to have him do is remove all the slack from his arms in order to use his arms as a lever to bring his hips down and generate that torque and that force that's going to be needed to lift the bar up. The last thing you want to do before you lift the bar is I'm looking at his hips. Now, a lot of people have different pathologies, and so your hip hinge angle is going to be different depending on who you are. However, I always want the hips between the knees and the shoulders. So Jeff, I'm actually going to have you lift your hips up a little bit here before you start the lift. This is going to make sure that all the force is generated by your glutes and your hamstrings, and it takes the pressure off your low back. The last thing I'm going to say before he lifts off is I'm going to tell him, rather than try to pull the weight up, is push his feet down into the ground. So Jeff, without further ado, I'm going to have you lift that bar. Good. Really try to push the ground away from you rather than try to pull the weight up. Just that little mental switch is going to allow you to generate more force as you bring the bar up to your hip. Very nicely done. Nice. You guys have it, the 5 things that I like to keep in mind as I approach the bar or as I educate my athletes and clients. We start with the feet, we move to the knees, the hips, the hands, the shoulders, and then we drive into the floor as we make our approach and lift the bar up. With that said, follow along, subscribe. We'll see you soon. Any parting words?
Click that subscribe button.
And stay ever strong. Thanks a lot.